Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of the Young Man's Adventures here on BallinCraig site. So, at the end of the last episode, a young man had finished cultivating and packed up the tractor here as Trevor had called it. It was time for lunch. Over lunch, the young man had spoken quite excitedly about the feeling of working with the land and the enjoyment he was getting out of it. Trevor was sitting over lunch with a little smile on his lip, clearly enjoying to see that the young man was finding some enthusiasm for farming. "Aye," said Trevor, "but we still got a long way to go. There's plenty more work to do. Now I phoned ahead and I called in a couple of favors, so we're going to be getting a delivery of straw a little bit later this afternoon. But in the meantime, we'd better get started on the sowing as well, and we need to start thinking about spreading some of the slurry out on the grass as well, get things growing." Yeah, the young man is quite enthusiastic at this stage. "Okay, where do we go next? I mean, you know more about running this farm, really, than I do, and I'm keen to learn." Trevor chuckles to himself. Well, why don't we get started with unhooking the cultivator, putting it out in the field here. Just need to open the gate, and you can jump in, get it put over there, and then we got to do a bit of shuffling to try and get things moved around so we can get the seeder out and get some seeds in it. I got the seed sitting over in the back of the pickup on the other side of the house. The young man is still terribly enthusiastic. He did get cold this morning, but some good lunch and a warm drink seems to have sorted all of that, and without further ado, he simply leaps the fence here and gets in and starts the tractor. Trevor, on the other hand, takes a little bit more steady and does scramble over the fence. Oh, legs won't quite do. Here we go. And gets the gate opened for the young man here. We can now drive the tractor through and get the cultivator put down. Need to lower it first here and unhooks it. "Alright, what's next?" "Calm down," says Trevor. "We need to get the other tractor out first, so you just wait there a second, I'll get it started up." So we hop over to Trevor, who's gonna get this Massey moved out of the way. We'll be moving this one for the slurry, he says. It's got more power, so I'll shift it up the yard a bit. Trevor moves back over. There we go. You should have the space, just be careful. The young man navigates the tight yard. Works his way in towards the cedar. Looking at it, suddenly feels a little bit less certain about this whole thing, because this piece of machinery looks seriously old. He backs up to it, shimmies in, and gets it hooked up. Now just go over next to the pickup truck. We'll fill some seeds and you can start at the bottom field down near the village. That's the one that's already been ploughed and should be ready. The young man nods. His enthusiasm knows almost no limits at this point. He's riding on a high. It's a beautiful, clear day, and life here on BallinCraig is good. He pauses for a moment. "Come on," says Trevor. "Get it in here. Not a young man anymore. Not going to shift those any further than I have to." There we go. Just lower that down. The young man jumps out and says, "Hey Trevor, I'll do it. After all, it's me that's supposed to be doing this," he says. "I'm working a bit. Wow, doesn't take much, does it?" "Ah, you'll have to do a couple of runs," says Trevor. "We can bring the pickup down, perhaps." Closing up the cover and lifting the sewer. Getting ready. The young man looks back, and Trevor shouts, "Don't worry, I'll take the car and come down." So the young man sets off down towards the field. The young man heads down the narrow road and quickly finds the gate. Brakes are a bit squeaky on this thing. Does need a bit of attention. And with a belly full of lunch and a good mood, the young man starts putting down some wheat in the field. Working away, Trevor calmly has another cup of tea before he gets into the truck and sets down the road, reckoning this will be about the time when the seeder is about to run out. And just as he pulls out, he sees the young man sitting, looking a little bewildered at the cedar behind him. "I think you're running on empty," shouts over. The young man grins at Trevor. "That was good timing," he says. "Aye," says Trevor. "Done this a few times." This time Trevor doesn't play the old man card, but simply grabs the seed bag deftly, well, almost deftly, over his shoulder, and fills the seed back up again. "While you're doing this," he says, "I'm gonna walk back up to the farm. I'll leave the van here so you can help yourself to seeds, and I'll get a few of the chores out of the way and check on the milk, phone the dairy, and check with the farmer to see when he's coming to deliver that straw as well." "Okay," says the young man, "I'll keep going." And the young man sets off again, still feeling pretty good, although by now the chill of a mere 8 degrees in the air is starting to make its effect felt in his legs and arms and legs and everything. Basically, he's getting very cold to the core, but he still has gritty determination to get this to work. The young man works his way through the field, filling the cedar on a regular basis, as it is an old model that doesn't take an awful lot at a time. Trevor, up at the top field, in the meantime, is getting busy readying some slurry. Trevor deftly navigates the Massey Ferguson around the tight bends and fence posts around the yard and the surrounding fields to head up and pick up the old slurry spatter. While Trevor has set the slurry tanker to pump, he receives a phone call from the local farmer telling him that they'll be coming up with some straw bales shortly. Trevor grins and smiles at the neighbouring farmer and scratches his head for a moment, trying to figure out where they're going to actually be putting all of these bales before he waves the farmer down towards the field. Trevor heads over and helps the farmer take the straps off the bales and offers him a cup of tea or coffee in the kitchen. "I'll just get these unloaded. I'll use the Massey with the front loader." Before long, Trevor has created a neat little stack of bales at the back of the shed. Good place to keep them dry. The last two bales go straight to the cows for bedding, as they have been sorely lacking that for a while here in the cold weather. So he lays an extra deep spread. Trevor thanks the farmer very much and acknowledges that he now owes him a favour, which he will meet by doing some contract work with the neighbouring farmer during the summertime when it gets busy with harvest. But as the neighbour takes off, at least BallinCraig State once again has bedding for its cattle. As the young man is starting to see the end of his job with seeding the field, suddenly there's a horrid and grinding noise as one of the wheels on the side ceases. It only drags round. The thud. Jumping out to try and inspect what's going on, the young man feels pretty confident that it looks like somehow the gears are seizing up, but without any tools or without any ability to do anything, he's really not sure. So he decides to head up to the farm and ask Trevor if he's familiar with the problem and if there's anything they can do to get it fixed while the day still has some light left in it. Trevor has got the slurry spreader going and has headed out to one of the grass fields to start getting some growth potential into it. With the pump going loudly, he doesn't hear the young man phoning to ask about the trouble with the seeder. Not being able to get a hold of Trevor, the young man drives up towards the farm. As he arrives, there's a new car parked in the most awkward of all places. This is not a car that he recognizes. He sees Trevor out on the top field, but notices that the door to his very own house is open and he can hear a voice inside. As he peers inside, he sees a man in a suit talking on the phone. "Oh God, yes. Yes, as soon as I'm out of this pest hole, this dirty farm, I tell you, I will be there for dinner tonight. Don't worry about it." "Oh, sorry, I have to go." "Ah, hello," says the man in the suit. Hello," says the young man. "Yes, you must be the young man. I represent the solicitor's firm, and I am here to clarify a few of the conditions." And as the young man is having his encounter in the kitchen, Trevor is heading back in to refill the slurry tank, but obviously also notices the car that has been parked up and stops to come over. "Ah, excellent, you're both here," says the man in the suit. "Now I've come to explain some of the conditions with regards to the will and the requirements. You see, we've realized that it would actually really be rather easy for the young man here to pretend he's farming." "Oh, I can assure you," says Trevor. The young man protests. "Yeah, but I'm here. I'm doing the work." "That may be," says the man in the suit, "but you could simply pretend. So we are going to hand this phone to your help, Trevor here, and we require you to send a photograph of yourself working on the farm on a daily basis via this phone to our office. You know, it's no good simply not taking the desires and stipulations in the will seriously. That is, after all, what we get paid for." Trevor looks very mistrustful at the man in the suit. "Well, I can assure you he seems to be a very hard worker so far." The young man also doesn't have any warm feelings for this man in the suit. "Be that as it may," the man in the suit continues, "this must simply take place. Failure to comply would mean that you do not meet the requirements that have been set out in the will, and you will lose the farm. I do hear that our property developers around here were really quite interested in this land, and I can see the prime hilltop location here being rather ready for some redevelopment." "I can't believe you would say that. Trevor growls suddenly, seeming very angry. "I think you should leave now," he says, and snatches the phone from the man in the suit. And right enough, without further ado, the man in the suit simply jumps back in his car. The young man, having come up the road, had blocked him in, and he furiously honks his horn. Both the young man and Trevor grins at him and shouts to him, all right, no need to get your knickers in a twist, we'll move." As they pull the van tightly up past, the lawyer immediately speeds away. Almost having a crash at the bottom of the road, in his eagerness to get away from the farm. "Well, I've never met a man so rude." Trevor is still pretty angry. The young man looks at Cortez and says, "Well, they do seem quite strict about these demands for some company in a city quite far away." "Aye, that's exactly the kind of suit you gotta watch out for," Trevor growls. "Anyway, what brought you back up to the farm?" "There's a problem with the cedar. I think the gears are stuck." "All right." Trevor seems to calm down, finally having to address something that he's more familiar with again. "I know just the trick. Just let me get the tools and we can head down and get that fixed in no time at all." And they head back down towards the cedar as the shadows start getting longer in this early spring period, where it still does get dark quite early on. "I'm sorry," says the young man. "I feel like I ought to know how to do these things." "Oh, don't worry," grumbles Trevor. "Get it sorted. These are not usually the kind of things you would have been doing with your uncle." They both jump out of the car to have a look at the gears. Elegantly and without much delay, Trevor produces a hammer and knocks some stones out of the cogs that seem to have accumulated. "See, with this old thing with exposed gears and no covers, we do get crud and things collecting, and at some point it simply seizes up." The young man shakes his head. "Oh, I really should have looked more carefully." "Don't worry about it," says Trevor. "Just get the field finished and I'll go back to the slurry work." So the young man sets off on the sowing while Trevor returns to his duties. As the young man is almost finishing up the field, he's feeling tired and suddenly has a sensation that this isn't just a battle in terms of doing the farming, growing the crop. After that solicitor's visit, it feels like he's up against something, like there's a will that won't have him succeed in his mission to try and keep the farm going, at least for a year. Competing thoughts in his head enter. Just give up. Go home. You're still on holiday for another week. You could call it an experience and just let it go. Go back to your old life. But already, having worked next to Trevor and seeing how hurt Trevor was at the words of the solicitor, how much he wanted the young man to succeed, determination sets in. I'm going to do this, he says. I will make this work. There is much work ahead for the young man, and many more trials to come. And as he heads back up to the farm, he at least feels once more a sense of accomplishment, but also a growing feeling of unease, that there might be things beyond his own control that could have an impact on his life and opportunities here on BallinCraig Estate. Thank you very much for watching, and if you do enjoy, please do hit that like button or consider subscribing, and see you again next time. Thank you very much from Overcord Gaming.